Morning, everybody. We'll just give ourselves 30 seconds to a minute just to accept people in. Great that we've got a lot of you so punctual, so thank you. Just as we're seeing these people come in, we'll make a start. Great. The session is recorded as well, so if there is people that are late coming, we can we can always forward them the recording of the session. So morning, everybody. Welcome to the third of our TravelSmart webinar series. This one today is focusing on how to build business traveller communities. The session's likely to run for about 40 minutes and then a Q&A afterwards. So well, please ask questions as we go, and I'll try and pick them up as I'm kind of moderating the session and working my way through. So I'm Laura Busby, Head Commercial Director at Good Travel Management. So I look after our sales, implementation and account management teams. Great to see so many of our customers on here, as well as some hopefully new customers as well. I'd just like to introduce the people with all the technical knowledge that will are delighted to be on and share it with you. So if we go to David first, and then we'll go on to Adam if you want to give a quick intro and a bit of info on you and your background.
Yeah, sure. Morning, everyone. My name is David North. I'm the Innovation Director at Good Travel Management. I've been in the travel industry, various different roles for TMCs and also for suppliers for about 30 years. My role at GTM is predominantly to look for new technology, new processes, potentially new commercial models to ensure we're always offering the best travel tech stack to clients. And as a business being as efficient as possible, but also sort of future-proofing both us and our clients, because it's obviously a very adaptive and changing industry.
Great, thanks, David. Over to you, Adam.
Morning, everybody. My name is Adam Kerr. I'm the founder of Tripism, and I also look after some of our strategic customers and partnerships. My background's all technology and startups. So right back in the internet days, I was one of the original team that founded WorldPay, one of the big global online payment companies. Then I worked for Ericsson and set up a startup there doing banking the unbanked. And my first foray was Tripism and business travel. So we started that about 9 years ago. Our first customer was Microsoft, and it's been upwards ever since. So I'm excited to be here today.
Thanks both, and I never knew you founded WorldPay, Adam. That's a nice bit of knowledge that I never knew about you after all this time.
I wasn't the founder. I was one of the original team. Nick Ogden will hang me up if I say I was the founder.
You were the brains behind it, right? Thanks, guys. So yeah, the session will run for about 40 minutes, and the directive that we've all been given is to make it much more interesting and exciting than England's performance last night. So stay with us, and you'll get some great knowledge from two total experts in the field of travel technology. So why are we talking about kind of building business traveller communities? From the customers I speak to kind of day in, day out, we really see that the modern day travel manager probably has more challenges than they've ever had. If we think about focusing on sustainability and the reporting that goes around that, travel policy development. I think the travel policy has gone from being something that sits on the top of a shelf and gets a bit dusty and doesn't really get looked at to modern travel policies generally will flow and change in a quite a dynamic real-time way. Getting the best deal. Every traveller out there seems to want to beat the travel agent right now. So how do you give the best price and the best content to your travellers to stop them kind of going off and trying to do it themselves? Risk management. We're seeing many more instances of floods and many other natural disasters that the travel manager has to really be mindful of where they're sending people, and if something does go wrong, how they get them out of there. Duty of care. How do you make sure that business travel delivers an ROI for the business but keeps your people happy and safe? And really, a great travel program will be a compelling part of your employee value proposition. It can be the difference between your workforce being really happy and engaged and excited about travel, or the opposite. So I think what we want to try and do with our partnership with Tripism is really look at how we engage better with the business traveller. I think that the TMC community historically can focus quite heavily on having the relationship with the procurement person or the travel manager, but how do we better listen to our business travellers? Usually the people that travel within your organisation for business are the people that are driving profit and driving income into your business. So it's important that you want to protect them, keep hold of them and give them a really positive experience. And then probably the last thing is how do you appeal to a lot of different types of travellers, from kind of the guy who's been doing the same route for 30 years, loves his BA membership and stays at the same hotel and you know gets how to travel and is quite self-sufficient, maybe knows what they want, to actually someone much younger. You know, we have sometimes our apprentices that travel around. How do we safeguard and take care of them? And everything in between. You know, we see with much younger travellers the real desire to stay in properties that are quite different and travelling maybe a different way. And how do you create an environment where you can deliver that same experience that people do when they book for themselves, when they book in their own leisure space? So I think there's a lot for travel managers to consider. And one thing that we've been working really hard at with David and with Adam is how we really tap into understanding the business traveller much better, and how we give the travel manager much more information to help them make some good informed decisions. So we decided to partner with Tripism just over a year ago. We're the only TMC in the UK and Europe that has this relationship. So we've got exclusivity for some time on this technology that we're going to show you today. And hopefully you will start to see, as we get through this, start to answer some of those challenges that I've just mentioned. So hopefully that just sets the scene for what today's about. We'll learn much more about Tripism and what the tech stack looks like. And also we'll spend some time talking about innovation and what's next. I think we are continually, you know, talking and challenging our innovation team to, you know, where's the industry going and what's coming next at us. So we'll really get into that as well. So we'll kick off with Adam. We'd just love to hear from you. Your story of Tripism, why Tripism, the journey that you've been on, and yeah, just a little bit more about your business.
Brilliant, thanks very much. So yeah, we founded Tripism about 9 years ago, and like I say, my background wasn't business travel, but I traveled a lot for work, like I'm sure many of us, and I was just fed up with the tools that were available for business travelers. You know, I thought that they should in many ways be better than you know, the tools that you use for your personal travel. I worked for a large company in Sweden. I remember once I had a trip that was planned to Peru. You know, in business travels, you know, standardized patterns of travel. People go to see the same customers quite often. They go to see the same office locations. And it took a lot of, you know, work to kind of piece together, like how do you get to Lima? How do you get from the airport? Where can you stay near the office? Where can I take a client for dinner? And it took a lot of kind of organizing to piece all that together. And then, you know, 2 months later, a technology team did that same trip, and they had to do the same research that we just done a few weeks ago. And I just thought that is a complete waste of time. So you know, I quit my job and we started Tripism. And what we've found is that travel programs have become so much better in the last, you know, 10 or 15 years. When I look at the programs that there are today and the services that are provided to employees, you know, they're fantastic. But it means that the communication of those programs have become, you know, in many ways much more complex, and the rate of change of that information has become faster. And because there's so much information, you need to communicate it in a highly specific, relevant way, because, you know, people aren't going to read through thousands of words and so on. So yeah, we founded Tripism. We're a UK company. It's a cloud technology. It's like an intelligent platform. So, you know, it's personalized. It presents different information to different people. so we can make sure that the information that's being presented is what that person needs, rather than relying on them to sift through things. And as you touched on before, people have a really high expectation of the kind of tools and technology that they use. A lot of the kind of communication that we see when we talk to customers and partners, it's like something from the 1980s, and I think it's because travel teams have just been given this other task. People are, they're not content managers, and there's so much content: sustainability, accessibility, preferred hotels, discounts, rates, restaurants, and so on. It's just too much to kind of keep on top of. So our platform, it becomes that central source of information. We bring all the information that you need. We make sense of it and we communicate it. And I'll share some more with you later on.
Great, good stuff. What might be quite interesting, Adam, and I don't know how much you can share, is just a little bit about the kind of customers that you work with and how they're driving you. Obviously you're really close to the customer, so what kind of customers have you worked with, and what are they telling you of what they want?
Yeah, historically we've been very successful with a lot of enterprise customers. So like I say, we work with Microsoft and big banks, big pharmaceutical companies, massive consumer brands. It's probably about 750,000 users on Tripism today. They all were struggling with the same thing, which is really how do they engage with their travelers and make sure, what we found is that those companies have fantastic travel programs. The biggest challenge was that the employees didn't know about it. The travelers weren't aware of it. So they work with us to engage with those travelers. So the first bit is, to be able to bring together all of that information and, communicate it in a really kind of concise, compelling way. For a lot of those companies, some of them, will benchmark themselves against other companies because they understand the role that travel takes place in both in terms of kind of recruitment. So some people are looking at the quality of a travel program when they're looking to start a new company. As you touched on before, a lot of the kind of, younger generations, the travel program is super important, and maybe some of the benefits that they get as part of being an employee of that company make a significant difference, especially if there are things that they can use in their personal use also. And then it's around kind of data. A lot of the bigger companies also, they have people in different countries. So because our platform's intelligent, it can present different content to different people. So we might present different hotels or different booking tools, different languages, and so on. So when somebody logs into Tripism, we know who they are, which company they're working for, and we can present obviously different content for different companies, but also different content for different people within those companies. Travel engagements two ways. So it's the ability for the travel team to be able to communicate to the travelers, but also for the ability for travelers to be able to provide feedback to the travel teams within those organizations. The second piece is, travel policies are great and really important, but I think we find within some of those companies that people don't take the time to be able to kind of go through the detail of it. So within Tripism, the platform's built to motivate the right behavior. So making the right choice within the program is the kind of easy choice to make because of the way that we present that content. And obviously a big influence on, the decision making of, both business travelers and leisure travelers is reviews. So one of the things that we do is that we capture that information, we create a sense of community within the travelers so they can share travel tips and recommendations. So if I'm traveling to New York for the first time, I have really good kind of tips and recommendations from other people in my community. And which is super helpful for travelers. There's a huge resource of information that companies have that isn't being utilized about this kind of knowledge. And again, that can motivate people to make the right booking decisions because they have kind of peer pressure and they're motivated socially and so on. So, and I think those communities are particularly important at the moment with a lot of people working at home. So you don't have that kind of bumping into people in the kitchen at work and asking them recommendations, but you can build that community online. Travel is a really good way of doing that.
Yeah, really good point actually. Yeah, I'm a home worker, and so whenever I'm out and about, I want to I really want to spend quality time with the people that I work with rather than I don't get the water cooler moment. So yeah, completely makes sense. Get it. So we'll move on to you now, David, because I think what's a really interesting part is historically Tripism have worked with the mega corporations, and we as a SME focused TMC are working with Tripism maybe in a little bit of a different way. So it'd be great to talk if you can talk through why we chose Tripism and how we're using this technology to the benefit of for our customers.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, the way that good travel management work with technology is that we are generally very early adopters of really good third-party tech. So we don't tend to go for one size fits all or one solution fits all technology. We go out and we find the best in field for that particular function. So whether that's an online booking tool, CO2e reporting tool, anything like that, we go out there and we procure the best. And then what that allows us to do for all of our clients is basically create a bespoke, best of breed tech stack for them to use. So it's not that 60% of it works really well, but the other 40% is a bit dodgy. Each individual part, you're using a really good piece of tech for it, and then it's backed up by the great service that we offer anyway. I think the challenge with that is that obviously you've got fragmentation of systems and information and sometimes content, and you might have to log into 2 or 3 different systems to deliver what you want to do for the client or the travel manager needs to do. So that's a bit of a challenge for both travel managers and travelers. And I think also for the good travel management, sales and account management team, it can be sometimes a bit of a more challenging prospect to sell or to explain. Mm-hmm. So we felt probably about 18 months, 2 years ago, that we needed some kind of central portal, if you like, to pull all of that tech and all that service and all that resource together in one place. We had a look at developing our own system, but if I'm honest, it was going to be mega expensive. It wasn't going to be particular stellar at the end of it. It was going to be very hard for it to be have enough flex in it to be working for a small client, a large client, a global client. And then I read about Tripism. I think it was at the Innovation Face-Off, I think at the BT show last year, Adam. And I saw what you were doing with the likes of Microsoft and Barclays. And I just thought, right, well, I think there's probably a way that hopefully we can adapt this and make it a tool that becomes maybe for our SME clients, like a good travel management client community, a bit of a shared resource. And then for any larger clients, we could work with you to develop maybe their own, specific version of Tripism. So we had a chat. You said that you could adapt it. It met all of the needs that we wanted. And essentially what it's doing for us now is it's providing that one central point for our clients where we can put together all the different tech, and it can be local content, it can be local tech, it can be local support, it can be local info to that particular area or the area that the traveler's in. But it's all just in one place. And the beauty of it is the purpose that we use Tripism for in our version anyway, is that it's a 50-50 balance split between it's useful for travel managers, but it's also useful for the travelers. Because I think travelers, as we've rightly said, sometimes get forgotten about in terms of systems and solutions that are provided by travel management companies and suppliers sometimes. I saw the ITM survey that came out a few months ago that mentioned that a travel manager's got over 25 sort of key areas that they have to juggle all the time, everything from supplier management through to MI reporting. They've obviously got stakeholder engagement, supplier negotiations to handle as well. So we really wanted to look at something where it would help them. It would take some of the stuff that they're doing away from them and give the responsibility to the traveler, so they could essentially self-serve some items or self-serve finding out particular information. And from the travel manager point of view, as Adam and Laura have said, it's a great place where they can educate or try and change travel behavior, make sure that policy doesn't have to be a sort of draconian, you must do this. It can engage their traveler community, if you like, to say, right, okay, well, this is why we're doing this. If you've got any feedback that you can give me as to why this is a good or indifferent idea, and because you're doing that, because it's a two-way conversation, you're more likely to get the traveler engaged on it. And I think for maybe smaller organizations that don't have a dedicated travel manager. They might have a procurement person who's handling a portfolio that includes travel, fleet, catering, the whole shebang. They again don't have the time maybe to concentrate on the stuff that they need to for their travel program. So again, using Tripism in the way that we do, you can take some of that work and responsibility away from the travel manager and, you know, give it in a beholden way to the traveller to do something with it. It's really important for the traveller, as I say, they often get forgotten in these things, and the ability to provide feedback both to Good Travel Management as a travel management company, but also to their travel manager and vice versa, is really important. It allows them to understand policies. It supports efforts if it's regarding budget control, sustainability. So it really helps with that. And I think we've alluded to it already, but the ability to sort of share feedback, reviews on suppliers, hotels, locations, etc., is really important because, as Adam says, it saves time. You're not building an entire trip from scratch each time that maybe 3 or 4 people do regularly on a yearly basis. But it also, sharing that information can also help in areas such as traveller well-being and travel risk. So that if you put a review on a hotel to say, right, well, don't book this one, it's right next door to the office, but it's not a really good hotel, you know, from a well-being or a travel risk point of view, that kind of information is really, really important. And it's sometimes it's difficult to share that amongst your travel peers. And I think the final 2 things I'd say is just on, we've touched on it in terms of the employer engagement and how this can actually help a corporate organization with their recruitment. If you can show that via Tripism and other tools that you really look after your travelers when they're traveling, you're really responsible for them, you can put all of the information in one place so that they feel safe, they don't feel at risk, etc. If you're in an industry where there's massive competition to recruit new people, you know, the fact that you've got these benefits is a real plus for you as a recruiter. And then the final element that we've really found is there's obviously a lot of supplier information on there, and we can make the supplier information tailored to your particular travel program. So if you do a lot of business with a particular airline or a particular hotel chain, we can tailor that. But it's a really good channel for the suppliers to educate your travelers about those negotiated rates, those negotiated fares. Suppliers often find it a struggle. You know, they put those deals in place, and then it's right. Okay, how is that information disseminated? How do people really take use of it? So we're finding that that's going to be really useful, and all of the information that we get here, we can see what pages travelers have clicked on, which parts of Tripism that they've used, and we can report on that. And again, that's useful for the travel manager to understand what pieces of information people find useful, which pieces they could get rid of, which areas have really resonated with travelers. So it's been a massive game changer for us, and it's just opened so many doors in terms of new innovation, new commercial models, new products in, you know, less than 12 months.
Mm-hmm. Great. And to pick up on a point that you touched on earlier, and I think we should dive into a little bit, David, is around global travel program configuration. So Good Travel Management, we're part of the Lufthansa City Centre Global Network. So like-minded boutique TMCs across 105 markets joined together under this LCC umbrella, and we service many customers globally, and I think this is where we found we've unearthed some real gems of using Tripism to help drive a global travel program. So yeah, I suppose from when I'm talking to customers, what I see their challenges are when they're trying to create a global program is how are you going to pay for it? What, you know, how does the billing process need to work across the world? How do you ensure you get the right level of content for each of those markets? What technology do you use? Some booking tools work great in some markets, not so much in others. Language, you know, how do you want to hub a solution and speak in that's serviced in one language? Do you need local language in each of your markets? So there's so much to consider when building out a global travel program, and I think that the beauty of working under the Lufthansa City Centre umbrella. Stay tuned for one of the follow-up webinars we're going to be speaking with them. Is that opportunity to deliver real flexibility to the customer in the approach, because all of the challenges that I mentioned, right, program that covers 10 countries, times all those challenges by 10, because you've got to really understand that the world operates differently. Travel content's different. You've got languages, you've got all these things to consider. So I think that's what I see from the coalface of the customer, of their challenges when they're looking globally. But from your perspective, David, and how you drive the innovation team to really get global right for our customers, and how Tripism's helped, it'd be great if you could just share a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I think going back to what we said about the reasoning behind good travel management's sort of tech strategy is that if a client might need a global solution, but one size fits all or one solution fits all really isn't going to work, as you said, for the specific reasons. I think I probably add, you probably want local support in there, you want local currency in there, the benefit of having local expertise and market knowledge, which you're going to get through the Lufthansa City Centre partnerships that we've got, adds on to it. And maybe even stuff like maybe your travel policy is slightly different based on wherever the travel is based, or it might be an offshoot organisation or something like that. So the thing that Tripism allows us to do is that we can basically say, okay, right, you've got one Tripism point for a client, but if you sign in here and I'm based in the UK, what I'm going to see is the online booking tool that works best in the UK market. It's going to have the UK content because I generally travel from the UK. It's going to be in English. It's going to be pricing stuff in pounds. The travel policy is based on what the UK part of the business does. But if I sign in as a US traveler, I'm going to see something different. But it allows the travel management program team within the organization to just manage all of that in one place, but they get the best of both worlds. So they don't get quite all the hassle of the admin of managing multiple TMC suppliers or multiple online booking tool suppliers. They can do that, but all of the content that they've got is local and applicable to their travelers. I think that allows a better experience for the travel manager, but also for the traveler. And as Adam mentioned, it may well be that I'm predominantly based in the UK, but maybe I'm based 6 months in the US. So during that time, if I sign into Tripism, I'm going to get US content because I'm generally traveling within the US. I think it allows us to really proactively service a global customer, but with that laser target focused local content, local support, local expertise, local technology.
And the industry's changed, right? So we've seen so many mergers and acquisitions across the mega TMCs. We are having so many more conversations with our customers about how we build out a global program for them, because there's not much choice across the megas because they've all bought each other out. So I think it gives a really bespoke view on delivering global travel management. And if I think about some recent new customers that have joined us, we work quite a lot with fashion and luxury brands. We've got a lot of clients in that space. We've got a client that's just joined us. They really like one booking tool in the US. They don't want that same booking tool in the UK, but through Tripism, it's all nice and neat. It's in one place. You can have the best in market online booking tool, but you've still got that central source of truth and an access point wherever you are globally. And actually what we're starting to do, because we've got a lot of customers in that space, the feedback can be shared across this community, so we can start to see one fashion client, how do we start to deliver value through fashion weeks, for example. Really good example of we start to now negotiate and procure hotel rooms a year in advance for our customers in that space, and within Tripism we can share that community of you might not want to stay here in Milan, but stay here. Here's some tips, and that community is quite open for sharing best practice because prices really go up during fashion weeks. So we've seen a kind of a day-to-day level how Tripism has really helped customers start to share some of that intel. But yeah, thanks for that one, David. So I think without further ado, let's have a look at some tech, Adam. Do you want to give us a bit of a demo of what this looks like? We've built it up over 30 minutes now. Let's
I was going to say, I'm completely sold. That sounds fantastic. Brilliant. I've got a demo site that we've put together. So it's branded Good Travel Management. So I'll just share that. If anyone's got any questions, or Laura, David, if you want to add anything as I talk through, then feel free. Just give me 1 second. So the way Tripism works is it's an intelligent platform, and what that means is that the content's delivered to a user in real time. So the way that it works is when somebody logs in, and they can log in via SSO or email, lots of different ways. At that point, we know who that user is as an individual, and we'll obviously know which company they're working for. And the content that you see in front of you now, it's delivered in real time. So it's not like a static website where it's the same. It's dynamic. So it'll different people within different organizations potentially on different days would see different content because it's delivering that in real time, and that gives us the flexibility. So if you like, Tripism becomes that central source of information, and it's a layer of technology that sits beneath the different components, the different technologies, the different partnerships that you have as part of your travel program. And it gives you the ability to be able to change those things. So if you wanted to change a booking tool that somebody sees, or you need a new service in a specific country, then you can simply add that, and then we'll present that to the right people within this platform. So there's a couple of key areas. So I have the ability to be able to search, and I can go through that in a little bit more detail, and then we can build out these components dynamically, so they can be based on different companies and what technology that they have. So as Laura and David had already talked about, here we have 2 different booking tools, but the way that would work in reality would be that we would recognize somebody who was a UK employee, and they would see the booking tool for them, and then if somebody came from the US, they would see a booking tool for them. So we would present different information. If you're the person responsible for travel within your organization, then you might see additional information that your travelers don't. So you might have access to a reporting portal, you might have access to a travel manager portal. So we can set different levels of users within the platform. So again, they see different services that other travelers might not. So when you log in as a travel manager, then you come through, it'll show you a link, and then you can click through, and it'll show you the information for the travel manager portal. For many of the companies, like they say, they struggle with traveler engagement, and with Tripism, we for some of our customers, we see super high engagement, actually more than they have travelers. And the reason for that is, for some of those customers, we're showing benefits that people can use for their leisure travel also. So where you get those with your supplier deals, we can promote those, and then other travelers can come through. And then again, we can highlight the information that you want. So as you take different services, as you work with Good Travel Management, and then they create a bespoke program for you, we'll then include the different services and partnerships that you have. So a lot of companies now, obviously, their focus is around sustainability. So if you have a partner that you work with to provide that service, then we can include that, and we can also provide content, to help your travelers to be able to understand about sustainability, what it means within your organization, the different things that you want to be able to communicate. So it's around the education of your travelers, as well as the information that you're providing through to them. And we've given some examples of different partners in here. So Maiden Voyage is an existing partner that Good Travel Management have. So again, we can bring their content in that's important for your travelers to be able to look through to that. And then your travelers can share travel tips and recommendations. So they can come in and they can, if I show you here, a traveler can come in, they can add a sort of tip for a location. So that, things like, don't try and get a cab in New York at 3 o'clock because it's shift change for taxis. Or they can come in and they can add a review for anywhere that they like. So if they come in and they click to add a review, they can choose like a restaurant and then choose a restaurant of your preference. So Docks in New York is that one that I like. So you find a place, and then you can then provide it with a rating, and then you can add your review. So and you can do it so that you either add as a review, so then it's shared with the other travelers in your community, and they can benefit from that. When we were starting Tripism, reviews are super important. But if you're traveling for business, you don't want to use TripAdvisor or those things. There were some sort of anecdotal things about people were seeing reviews. We got a really high, so restaurants got really high rating, but it was like a $10 eat as much as you can pizza place, which is great if you're a student, but it's not not ideal for that business dinner. And then there's reviews in there for people's honeymoons, Christmas shopping trips and things, and you find that that you kind of skim through those reviews and you try and is it kind of good or bad. But when it's other people who are traveling for work, especially if those people are within your own organization, it's super compelling and super important in terms of your decision making. And I've used it many times when I've, been in different places and I've been looking places. And even if I can see it's someone from a different company, I can see that it's a business person, they work for a similar kind of company as me. It's amazingly compelling how it is. The way that you treat that review is so much more different than something on a TripAdvisor just from some random stranger, or maybe even a bot's created. Within this, someone's traveling for work, they were trying to find a, restaurant for a client dinner. And if they're working within your own company, it's the same expense policy. The offices are in the same place. It's a completely different experience when you read those reviews. As David talked about, you can do it also as feedback. So if you have, you've stayed at a property and you've had a poor experience, like a security concern or something, then maybe you don't want to share that publicly, but you want to make sure that the travel team are aware of that. So then you can leave it as feedback, and then it's shared directly with the travel team, and then they can work with the suppliers, or they can inform travelers or remove it from the hotel list to to make sure that everything's okay. So it's, like I say, engagement is two ways. It's the ability for you to communicate with employees and travelers, but also the ability for you to be able to listen, to be able to learn from that experience. Travel's a huge investment for most companies, and it's super important that you get the best value for you as a company, but also the best value for your travelers. So if I just add that review, I can see a review on that restaurant.
That does look nice. Yeah, I agree, Adam.
I'm not sure if Tripism's expenses would cover that. And there's some other pieces that we can work on, which I can touch on later on, where if we can capture the data from your booking experience, we can actually prompt you. We can send you a notification either within the platform, or we can send you an email and proactively ask you about your experience. So again, that picks up on the increase in reviews and the feedback and so on.
Great. And could you just share the city guides, Adam? Because I think that for me was if you've got travelers that are going to different destinations, they've not traveled there before, you've got some a traveller who's maybe not very experienced, I think the city guides are a really, really good source of information for your travellers.
Yeah. I love these. I mean, this is almost kind of, the foundation of how we started off. Like I said, that experience of me, that we did all that work to plan a trip, and then, that knowledge was lost. And what you'll find is that, lots and lots of travelers do exactly the same research. How do I get from the airport or the train station? Where's the office at? Where, can I stay near the office? Do I use public transport? All those, what power adapter do I need? All those things, people do that same research over and over and over again within your organization. And these city guides are designed to do all that work for them. So rather than having to do it again, we can just neatly package it up and we can create it for them. So it'll give you, bespoke information for your company for that location. So it'll talk about, heads of information about the city. It'll tell you about the different airports, the different transportation options. It'll talk to you about, public transportation, which are the best hotels, things that you can do in your, downtime whilst you're working there. I always think of business travel as a big investment of your work time, but also of your personal time. And therefore, if you can, make the best use of both parts of that, then it's really fantastic. For some of those big clients, we do this thing called data-driven restaurant recommendations, where we have access to their expense card information, and we then look at the number of times that restaurants are expensed. And it's given us this, I'd say, unique set of really good restaurants that are designed for business travel. So, because they're frequently dined at, they're not, kind of hyper expensive. It's just the number of times. So they're normally kind of convenient places. They're good for business dining, and it's and they haven't got that kind of $10 eat as much as you can pizza buffet place. And again, for depending on the customers, we can kind of do this on a bespoke basis. And as you talked about, those kind of different segments like fashion and so on, we can kind of create specific content around them, and we can learn from users, and we can create guides for different sectors as the clients require it.
Right.
And in any place where you see a book now button within Tripism, all we'll do is we'll just link through to the booking tool that you have for that person in that country.
Great, good stuff. Conscious of time, so
yeah.
we'll start to touch on great question that's coming from Megan, but broader speaking about innovation and what's next. So I think to kick off, I think Megan's question around how do you think AI is going to affect travel managers? Interesting one for maybe your steer first, David, about AI and where our thinking is with regards to AI.
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at AI from probably three different elements. So first of all, we're looking at what you could maybe do with it within a booking environment or within the booking process. We're looking at it from the travel manager's point of view, I suppose, as to it's okay having a central point like Tripism, and it's a self-serve area. And I think Adam can talk about this a bit more, but it's kind of having that ability to do more conversational fact finding, if you like. So you're not going off and finding a document, you're asking a question, getting some information back. And then the third part is within our own internal processes, how can we use it? And we've started using AI in areas like, sales team use it a little bit. We use it in my department as well. I think from a travel management or travel manager point of view, I think it will be, to start off with, would be more the sort of like the servicing, how AI can help with the servicing, how it can help maybe with going more granular on reporting. And instead of just presenting a massive information to a travel manager, it automatically presents recommendations on what they should do with that data, and do stuff like, okay, well, we've noticed that this has been your travel spend for the last 6 months. Here's the recommendations that we would make to your travel policy to either save money or enhance the traveler experience or improve your sustainability. So I think there's loads of things that can be done. I think from a travel manager point of view, it's more sort of like the service and reporting stuff at the minute. I think the thing I always have in the back of my mind that we always have to be conscious of is that a lot of the data that we're using here in travel is, personal data, specialized data. So you really have to be conscious of, what you're doing that for. And I think the final thing I would say is, there's quite a few companies out there who have jumped on the AI bandwagon, and they're developing tools and solutions that are really cool, but I don't know whether they've actually thought whether they're desirable, viable, feasible as yet. So we started with it ourselves, and we've got some cool stuff to bring out in the next sort of 6-12 months that's AI related. So Tripism will be that central point where we release those kind of solutions now.
What about from your point, Adam, AI and then wider your kind of innovation roadmap?
Yeah, I think to David's point, so privacy obviously is paramount. So and then a company has their specific content, their specific policy and things. So the way that we'd approach it is, if you like it, in a siloed way from the content and policy, so it fits specifically for that company. But then one of the benefits that we see is that we have a lot of experience about different things that are happening with different companies. So we have a really great view across the world and across companies, and how can we learn some things from one company that might help a program for another one. The second piece is around helping travelers to help themselves. So one of the things that we've seen is that a lot of travelers now, rather than just focusing on searching for places, so like New York or Paris and so on, we're seeing more and more travelers who are searching for content or for suppliers. So maybe if I can just bear with me for 1 second. So we're really providing tools to help travelers to help themselves. So rather than having to kind of ask kind of admin questions, that they can do it. So this is another kind of demo site that we have. But if I want to know what the meal rate cap is for a location, a traveler can come in, they can ask for that, they can search for that, and we're continually parsing the information that we host within the platform to be able to do that. So I can come through and I can then search for that information. So rather than having to kind of ask a question, or if I want to find out about expenses, then I can just come in here. And again, this is all of the content, all of the information that's specific to a specific customer. So, rather than having to read through that travel policy, we can help a traveler plan their trip that fits within the policy without them having to read the, pages over and over again.
Super cool. That's really, I can just see that's the kind of thing I'd use, but I'm not very good at reading through loads of detail. I would love that. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. And so in terms of what's next for Tripism, Adam, kind of get that it's about giving the traveller the real specific piece of information that they need at that specific time. What else is in your mind of where you're going to take your company next?
I think one of the things that we're looking at is that the suppliers want to be able to do more for business travelers, and they have the same frustration that it's difficult for them to be able to communicate the best parts of their service through to business travelers. And also, one of the things that we're just releasing at the moment is that many of those suppliers want to be able to offer, great discounts and promotions to business travelers, and they do it for those huge corporations. But we're enabling it so that we can capture some benefits and promotions that travelers can use in their personal time and make those available to companies. So you'd be able to search for a hotel or for a location, and you'll be able to see that you get whatever it is, 25% off higher for your personal use. And I think it's a great benefit of being an employee for an organization, but it's also it's another way of us engaging people within Tripism. People keep coming back to the platform to be able to find information for that also. So but yeah, AI will be a big push to help travelers to help themselves, and then to help travel managers do their jobs better also.
Fabulous. So on that note, thank you both. I actually learned some things about our approach and certainly Tripism's approach over the last 49 minutes. So yeah, thank you both. That was great. I think we've gone through the questions that we've had come through. I think an offer that I'd make to any of our customers or potential customers that are on the webinar if you want to see more, you want to talk about how tourism could work for your business, please feel free to drop me or your account manager or your sales manager a line. I'm always happy to talk about this and what it means for your business in particular. Next steps will be, we'll ping you out a digital goodie bag with some nice little tidbits for you to have a read through and look at, and then we'll take a break over the summer. I think it's quite nice in the business travel world that things get a little bit easier when the sun shines out, and we'll be back with our next webinar in September with our expense management partner Emburse, to really just uncover the pros of seamless travel and expense solution end to end, which we work like that with many of our clients. So looking forward to that one. But until then, have a lovely summer, everyone. Thank you for joining and staying with us, and we really look forward to seeing you in September for our next one. And thanks both. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.